This
Lovely.
conference will now be recorded.
Welcome everyone. So my name is Liz. I am an employability advisor within the Career Service at Kent, and welcome to today's session. So I'm really pleased to welcome Dan Hawes, who is the co-founder of the Graduate Recruitment Bureau, who today will be sharing their insight and tips into virtual interviews. So even before COVID, virtual interviews have become a very popular method in terms of recruitment, and even now so this has become a kind of staple method when recruiting and interviewing candidates. So something I'm sure, if you haven't already, you'll be going through in the next few months when applying for graduate roles. So Dan today will be taking you through kind of the tips to ensure that you have the best performance with your virtual interview. So as mentioned, it is recorded, and I will now hand over to Dan to take the session.
Liz, thank you very much. Yes, delighted to be here in partnership with the University of Kent Career Service to help you nail your virtual interview, essentially. So I've got 10 tips I'm going to share. We've also spoken to some of our clients. So there's some quite exclusive, interesting information, hopefully that will put you in a far better position for when you have your next graduate job interviews. So first of all, my name is Dan Hawes, and I am the co-founder of the GRB Group. So in the last 12 months, we've adapted. You know, business has taken a hit. Some clients have stopped recruiting, but a lot of clients have continued recruiting. So we're now called the GRB Group, and I co-founded this back in 1997 after I graduated myself in business studies from Brighton University with a friend of mine. We've now grown to become the go-to platform for high caliber university students, recent graduates, alumni and recruiters. We've got over 40 staff. Our headquarters are in Brighton on the south coast, and we've helped over 1,800 clients. So all sectors, companies you will have heard of like the Post Office, IBM, Unilever and Ocado have all come to us to fill their graduate roles, but also many fast-growing SMEs, the kind of companies that may go under the radar with a lot of graduate job seekers, but they also need high caliber graduates, and we're able to supply those graduates to a number of different organizations you may not have heard of all over the UK. So in the almost 25 years we've been going, our recruitment experts have managed to successfully match over 8,000 graduates with full-time graduate or executive level jobs. Now, the GRB Group, as I mentioned there, has evolved in the last 12 months. So the Graduate Recruitment Bureau is our main business. That's a recruitment consultancy. It's a free service to students and graduates who are looking for their first job. So our teams will match you up with any of our clients, arrange interviews and job offers. So that's what we do day in, day out, and our teams cover lots of different sectors. The GRN stands for the Graduate Recruiters Network. Now this is a group that we set up many years ago for our clients really, but they share useful information, and some of the information I'm going to share to you today are from members of the Graduate Recruiters Network when they've actually been interviewing graduates recently virtually. Graduate Mentor, this is a brand new service we launched in August last year, primarily to mitigate the effects of the pandemic that have affected students and graduates all over the UK in many ways. So we decided to launch a platform that enables you to have free one-to-one mentoring sessions with any of our 100 mentors. They're from organizations like Facebook, MasterCard, the Ordnance Survey, the British Army, all have kindly volunteered to help you over Zoom or Teams with mentoring sessions. And we've had many successful outcomes. Graduates being able to change the way they've looked for jobs, be better prepared for interviews, have far better CVs, and that's been very popular since we launched that in August 2020. We also have another program called Rising Stars, where we showcase 50 final year students that our consultants have spoken to and identified as being really, really exceptional. So you're welcome to join Rising Stars. When you register with GRB, we can give you a call and talk about Rising Stars, but a very good way for us to profile exceptional final year students and introduce them to some of our clients. We also have another service called Student Startup, and this is designed for students who are looking to start their own business. So we connect them with other business owners and help them along the way. We also have a monthly podcast called Student Diaries, where I interview 3 university students every month. And this gives recruiters a good understanding of what it's like to be a student when you're studying remotely and all the changes that have happened. So that's very popular with recruiters, just to understand when they can't go to campus, what it's like to be a student right now. We also have many LinkedIn groups, as you'd expect. As a recruitment consultancy, we're active on LinkedIn. So we have lots of groups for graduates to join. We share information, advice and guidance on LinkedIn, so check those out. And also for graduates with up to 5 years experience, we have 2 divisions, one called Cortex, one called Metrica, and they focus on IT or numeric graduates with up to 5 years experience and help them with their 2nd or 3rd job. So we may be able to help you down the line as well. So that's a brief overview on the GRB group. Okay, so the situation we're in, these are just some of the headlines that I've seen in the last 12 months. You know, all of it affecting 18 to 24-year-olds in many different ways, as I'm sure you're aware. Lots of part-time opportunities have been cut, so you can't work in bars or restaurants or shops when we've been having the lockdown. Various reports on the economy and also how companies have reacted. So we've very much got our finger on the pulse, and we're starting to see that we're turning a corner. Companies are starting to recruit again, and things are looking positive. But the job market is always changing. Sorry about that. The job market is always changing. You know, virtual interviews aren't a new thing. As Liz mentioned at the start, they have been around for a long time, as have telephone interviews, when you can't actually be there in person. But way more companies are now moving their interviews online. So according to the Institute of Student Employers, and this represents around 250 of the big name graduate recruiters, a recent survey showed that 71% have now moved all their interviews online. So that's a huge shift. So many companies are now not just doing interviews, but also assessment centers, even onboarding and training. So technology has helped recruiters move forward during the lockdown and actually continue to interview and onboard their graduate intake. So yes, it is tough out there, although we are seeing green shoots that things are improving. Since the lockdown a year ago, 750,000 people have lost their jobs, which is awful. For graduates, there were 500,000 who entered the job market last summer, and then another 500,000 will enter the jobs market this summer. So, you know, the competition for jobs is going to be pretty tough. So we're speaking to students and graduates all the time. We're helping them to stand out and get noticed in what's going to be a very competitive jobs market. And we can help you with a winning mindset. We've been through downturns before, other recessions, and we've come through it. So we're ideally placed to help University of Kent students and graduates when they enter the jobs market. So I'd just like to spend the next 15 or 20 minutes giving you 10 tips on how to nail your virtual interview. So, first of all, be prepared. I mean, this still goes for any interview that you go for, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. You know, you really need to be prepared and know what you're letting yourself in for. So, thoroughly understand the company, know what's involved in the job before you have this interview. You'll feel a lot more confident and you'll perform at your best. So when you're in a virtual situation, you can have notes if you need to turn to your notes, but don't rely on them too much. One of our clients said one question that you should be prepared for in interview is how you responded in adversity. So employers in the current market need reassurance that future talent can show maturity during times of constant change. Everyone wants talent that can adapt and show initiative, not flounder. So this is from one of our clients. So, you know, being prepared for all sorts of different questions you're going to be asked is really, really key. And of course, your career service will be able to help you, and you can do mock interviews and things like that. But we strongly advise you to be prepared before your first virtual interview. Number two, technology is really important. So check your Wi-Fi and your webcam beforehand. Now, we appreciate many of you may be in shared accommodation or living at home, and the broadband can be a bit sketchy. So make sure that when you have your interview that no one else is on the broadband, and also check the webcam on your computer or laptop. It's focused and it's at the right height, really important. So one of our clients, Natasha at Christie's, the auction house, confirmed this and said that you must test your internet connection, set it up thoroughly beforehand, and as a backup, have the contact details of the assessor or the recruiter within reach, just in case something goes wrong. And don't panic, because if the worst happens, you may not be able to control a technical issue, but you control how you respond to it. I think that's really good advice, because, you know, a technical problem may occur. It may occur on their end just as much, but everyone's aware of that situation. So don't panic. If that does happen, make sure that you contact that person maybe on your mobile phone and reconnect and carry on where you left off. And some things are certainly out of your control, but if beforehand you can just check your Wi-Fi and your webcam is working properly, then you'll feel a lot more confident going into the situation. Okay, the third one, try and minimize interruptions. Tell your housemates, tell your family, tell your friends that you're going to be in an interview. It's really important to log in 5 minutes early. It's the equivalent of turning up to the interview early. So this is really good advice. It just gives you a chance to relax as well. You don't want to start the interview nervous, so give yourself some time. Tell your housemates, your family, your friends, or make sure pets are locked away, just so you're in control of your environment, and all you have to think about is dealing with the interviewer and their questions. Okay, just like you would a face-to-face interview, make sure that you are dressed appropriately. It might feel a bit strange, but look smart, sit up, don't slouch. You may want to wear smart shoes or maybe a shirt or something like that, but it will make you feel more professional, the way you dress. So bear that in mind. Also, your background, super important. You can blur out the background if you're using Teams, for instance, but just bear it in mind that you don't really want to show a messy room. It could distract from you. So think about your background, and remember, this isn't a chat with a friend, this is a job interview. So that first impression is really, really important. And again, this is backed up by one of our clients who said, treat it like a face-to-face interview, dress the part, and you will feel professional. So that again is what some of our clients are saying based on their experience of meeting students and graduates online in an interview situation. Really important. Your first impression is so key. Now, interviews at the best of times can be very nerve-wracking, so try and prepare yourself. Relax beforehand. At the very start, smile and breathe. Really, really important to settle your nerves and prepare yourself for an interview. And so this is what one of our clients at Enterprise Rent-A-Car said. With virtual interviews, rapport can be very challenging when you are doing it remotely. It's normally quite an abrupt entrance with both parties appearing in the interview room. For me, the non-verbal is even more critical. We see far less articulation with hands on video interviews, whereas I actively encourage it. Cheesy as it sounds, a smile goes a long way to break down that initial barrier. So that's really good advice. And we encourage students and graduates to use a lot of body language. So, articulate yourself, use your hands. The way you react to questions is very, very important, rather than no reaction at all. So bear that in mind. What your non-verbal signals are heightened in this scenario. So again, that's very, very good advice to bear that in mind, that you need to engage as much as possible with the interviewer. Okay, number 6, try not to look at yourself on screen. Focus on the camera. This takes some practice, and it's really important because it can distract the recruiter if you are looking at yourself and not the camera, looking directly at the camera. That's really important. So a bit of advice here from one of our clients: do a trial run. Watch how you perform, and then flip the process. What did you do right? What did you do wrong? Would you hire yourself? How did you come across? How was your tone? So essentially what we're saying here is practice. And the beauty of this is you can actually record yourself. So you could be chatting to a friend or a family member, running a mock interview, record it, and then look at it and see how you come across. Are you happy with that impression? And that will really be useful if you can practice as much as possible being comfortable in front of the camera, and you'll be able to impress the recruiter from the minute that it goes live. So definitely practice beforehand. Okay, number 7, be interested. I mentioned this before about engaging with the recruiter. So by this, I mean actively listen and ask questions. It's really important that it's a two-way dialogue between yourself and the interviewer. They're looking for information from you, so give that as much as possible, but make it natural. You don't want to force yourself to act in a different way. So it has to be natural, but you must engage with the recruiter. Much like any interview, don't give yes or no answers, but really back them up with some evidence. So one of our clients here, a massive US tech giant, have said they're seeing quality candidates fall down for a simple lack of contribution to group tasks at assessment center. So, assessment centers just as important in a virtual way, to show you're actually engaging and listening to the recruiter. So what they recommend is don't be afraid to be the first one to start the conversation. Be the person to introduce yourself and go around and check everyone else on the video call knows each other's names. It's less about the task, but about the team dynamic. First impressions seem to count even more in the virtual format of assessment centers. So what they're saying here, first impressions, really, really important. Show an interest in the job and the company, but in that individual who's speaking to you. They're people as well, and it's very important that you get that rapport. So be it in an interview or an assessment center, it's really, really important to step up and get involved, actively listen, and ask questions. Number 8. Now, there are a lot of standard questions that recruiters will ask graduates in an interview, and there's lots of information and advice out there. But over the last 12 months, things obviously have changed dramatically, and the way we're working is very, very different. So recruiters want to see that you're going to be able to fit into this new normal of working, because things have changed. So we've asked many of our clients what they're expecting from their graduates, and by and large, they appreciate that things have changed. And one of our clients here has explained that the way that the world of work is changing, and they want to see how graduates have coped during lockdown. So they might ask you, what did you like or dislike about working from home? They're going to ask you, what did you do during lockdown? All these kind of questions wouldn't have happened 12 months ago. So there are a range of different questions recruiters are starting to ask graduates now, and you need to be prepared. And because recruiters need to see, what level of support that you might need and how resilient you've actually become over these last 12 months. And resilience is a key skill now for recruiters. So have a good answer for that kind of question. But you'll be able to do some research, have a look around. Lots of career services have been able to offer advice on ways to answer these kind of new questions that are starting to appear now in virtual interviews. Number 9. Oh, hang on. Sorry. Recruiters are only human. You know, that they are nervous too. It's a new situation for a lot of recruiters that they're having to do this virtually, and it may actually be from their own home. So, you know, it's a strange situation that we're all in. So don't worry, you know, they might actually be quite nervous as well. And I think this advice here from one company is quite interesting, because this person said they want to attract the best graduates, so they want to give the best first impression too. Now, they can't show you around their nice new shiny offices and you meet the team, so they want to make sure that they're selling their organization too. So that can be quite tricky if they're at home. So certainly for the first interview, they're just assessing you and you're assessing them. So, you know, bear in mind they're only human as well, and that there are limitations to a virtual interview. Hopefully they'll be able to invite you into the office, you can meet the team, and that's just as important. But both of you are making first impressions, so you're very much at the same level when you're going into these situations. And finally, finish on a high. Remember, they've chosen to interview you. You could potentially be the one for this job, so leave no doubt. This particular client has explained, for us, their likability is a crucial part of the cultural fit and pivotal for client-facing roles. The candidates who shine are the ones who understand that you need to project a great representation of yourself. This can be more of a challenge virtually, but remember the simple things like eye contact and smiling. Place your camera centrally and don't have it off on one side. Equally, make sure you stay engaged throughout the entire process. So Nikki here, an HR and office manager, has really summed up a lot of our advice that we've been sharing. And if you can take this on board and finish on a high, you will leave the best impression of yourself to that particular recruiter. Now, if you have any questions, do feel free to use the chat facility within the platform. This has been recorded, so I will be uploading this to the YouTube channel for you to listen back to. All that remains for me to say is thank you for your time today. Thank you for tuning in. You can find me on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or email or phone. If you want some more information, I'm more than happy to help you. Obviously, your career service are there to help you with any extra bits of information you may need. But those are my 10 tips to nail your next virtual interview, and I do hope that's helped.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much. And like Dan said, if you've got any questions, did you want to either add them to the chat and we can kind of go through those now? So feel free to add them here.
There is one question there. Can you email me the presentation? Well, what I'll do is I will share the YouTube link with you, Liz.
Yeah.
And then maybe you can share it for people to listen back to on demand. So also for people who weren't able to come along today, it's there for you as well. Do you have any advice for questions to ask assessors? So there is lots of information on our website about certain questions to ask at interview, because invariably right at the end, I think that's what you're referring to, is there anything else you'd like to find out about? And that is actually one of our most popular advice pages on our website. So we've actually listed 8 things to ask at the end of an interview. I will send that link as well for you to look at, because that's really important, and that is key as to the last impression you leave with the recruiter. So yes, we do have some information we can share with you there. I think Rachel asked that question, so hopefully, again, I will give you that link. Elizabeth has asked, do we offer law recruitment? We don't work with that many legal firms. They tend to go along to career fairs. They've got really strong relationships with the universities, so we don't get involved with legal recruitment that much, Elizabeth, I'm afraid. Pretty much every other sector, but the legal sector works in a quite a different way. Rima has asked a question, thank you. I was just wondering, during interviews, is it better to focus more on showing that you are enthusiastic about the firm you're applying to, or is it more important to focus on why you are the best candidate? I think, well, it's both really. I mean, if you put yourself in the position of the interviewer, they want to see someone that they can work with. So, you know, if you're enthusiastic and smiley and come across as a nice person, you know, that's very important. But also you need to be focusing on why you stand out from all the other graduates that are also putting across that they are suitable people for the role. So you need to think very carefully about what sets you apart. And the only way to do that is to prepare by looking at the job description. So, you know, the recruiter will list certain skills that they're looking for. So make sure with every answer that you give, you're thinking about those skills and you're giving solid examples, because that will come across as, you know, being very, very relevant to the interviewer. So super important to be enthusiastic and engage with the interviewer, but you know, you do need to have the right skill set, and you do need to get that across when you answer their questions. So hopefully that will help you with your next interview there, Rima. Elizabeth has asked a question. Do you think people will continue to work from home in the long term? Maybe for certain jobs, this will be an option. Nobody really wants to work 100% from home. Neither do they want to work 100% from the office. So we anticipate that for certain jobs, there may be more flexibility now after this massive experiment. But certainly for graduates who start their first job, it is so important to get to know members of the team in person, and also develop your soft skills. And a lot of the training, I imagine, you know, it'll actually involve you coming into the office. So I think if that option is available to work 100% from home, you know, I'd still be interested, if I'm starting my first job, if I can actually come into the office. There's still a lot to be said for working from the office, but it really does depend on the employer and the kind of role. But I think certainly flexibility in future roles will be expected by the kind of the modern workforce. We've got a question here from Rian. I wanted to ask, were there any resources, tips you recommend to control interview nerves? Well, breathing before the interview slowly can help you calm down if you can. You know, having plenty of fresh air beforehand, making sure that you're hungry and you're not hungry, and that you're hydrated, will make sure that you can just generally calm down and be in the moment. That's really, really important. So, you know, deep breathing and practicing beforehand. If you're comfortable with certain questions, when it comes to the real thing, you'll find yourself naturally more relaxed. So definitely practice beforehand. Don't leave it to the last minute, and you will naturally feel more relaxed. There's no more questions coming through just yet, but if you do feel free to email me or reach out on LinkedIn or on Twitter or email. More than happy to help you. This has been a very quick overview. I know everyone's super busy at the moment, so we've kept this very, very short. We've just covered 10 tips on how to prepare for virtual interviews. There's way more information on our website. And of course, your career service are there to cover this as well, I'm sure. Liz, over to you.
Great, thank you so much, Dan. That's been really useful. I think, like you said, just really good to cover those key tips when preparing. And absolutely, you know, if you have got an interview coming up, if you'd like to get some support, we do offer one-to-one mock interviews, so you can have a practice interview with an advisor at the career service. We have online appointments available throughout term time and also in vacation period, so you can practice an interview and get some feedback. But please use all the resources that Graduate Recruitment Bureau offer, and do get in touch if you have any more questions. But a big thank you to Dan for today. It's been brilliant, and best of luck with any interviews that you will have coming up.
Absolutely, best of luck, and thank you for your time. Appreciate it. And Liz, thank you for inviting me, and hopefully sometime I can come in person maybe and run a similar session.
Oh, I hope so. Hopefully not too long.
All right.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
This conference will now be recorded.